Hey, and welcome to another edition of Samba News. I'm your host, Dwayne. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember that this has been brought to you by Samba Tree. Make sure you check out sambatree.com. It's a source of natural and herbal remedies for both you and your family, especially during this time, as you've just been hearing about the whole monkeypox thing coming along and all of that. You definitely want to make sure your immune system is built up, but we prefer you build it up naturally. So make sure you check it out over on sambatree.com. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. So in today's video, we're going to talk about this trend that always comes up. It always comes up every 4 years. I will have to say that it especially became a thing in my lifetime during the Obama years. And what am I talking about? It's what I'm specifically talking about are Christians and how Christians will find a way to wield their Bible to go either way. It's really interesting to sit back and watch this. And the individual that we're going to talk about, I have a clip that I'm going to play just a moment. But first, let me kind of lay this out for you. During the Obama years, what I noticed was that how, of course, just like in any political season, you got the people who are very hard on the left and you got people who are very hard on the right. OK, that's pretty normal. And then what's been growing are the people in the middle. They, we refer to as the independents, whatever the name you want to give them. Now, in the independents, if we were to break that down, you got independents who are basically, listen, we want to know what you're going to do for our vote. In other words, we're not just going to lean left or right here for this election. We want to know, these are the specifics that we have on the table. How are you going to address these specific things? Okay, we're not just cheerleaders, we're not going to do that. We want to know how you're going to do this specifically. In other words, you are talking from a position of negotiating power, so you have independents that fall into that category. And then the other category I would say these independents fall into are people who really want to be a part of a party. You know what I'm saying? But they prefer to go to the party that the cool kids go to, right? And more often than not, I think we can all agree that Democrats or the left have always been considered the cool kids party, right? And, like in this upcoming Democrat National Convention, well, guess who they're going to have performing? Beyonce. And I'm sure they'll have some other stuff going on as well. But yeah, so they are considered the cool kids. And so it's, during the Obama years, it was very interesting to sit back and watch Christians find some kind of way to excuse themselves to go with the cool kids. And even though a lot of the policies that Obama stood for literally slapped them in the face of a lot of things that they claim to stand for in their Christianity, such as Obama being pro-LGBT and pushing policies that were pro-LGBT. And then obviously the abortion, where he stood when it came to abortion. These were central issues that many Christians really had some issues with. But it was interesting to sit back and to watch how these Christians will find scriptures and will twist them and hem them up and reinterpret it in such a way where they said, you know what, I think we can make this work. I think we can make this work, right? And so I'm going to play for you a clip of someone that I actually know. I've known her, many, many years ago. We don't talk. I mean, I haven't seen her in years. I mean, we've everybody's going their separate ways. My wife, know her as well. And her name is Latasha Morrison, and she's like a activist, public speaker. She has an organization called Be the Bridge. And I'll just say this off the cuff. I have nothing, all my memories of her, she's been a very sweet, nice, kind person. So anything that I will say in this video has nothing to do with her personally. I don't have any personal things about her at all. I don't. But we're adults. So as adults, we can agree on things and we can also disagree. And so, so in this video, of course, there's going to be some things I'm going to disagree with, but I want to give you the opportunity to hear her for yourself. I want you to hear what she has to say on this stuff. And and take note of how her rationale as far as her eventually saying, hey, listen, I'm going to support Kamala Harris. Okay. So let's go ahead and play that clip and I'll be right back.
When I look at the platform of the candidates that are before us, when I look at the platform of Trump, it is bankrupt of grace and truth with which this work is built upon. It is bankrupt of compassion. Whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love. I look at which candidate is leading me to love the other. Which candidate is leading us towards compassion? Which candidate is leading us to walk out the Sermon on the Mount, which is the blueprint of love? This verse implies that God's actions, including the gift of grace, stem from his loving nature. I also look at this work as grace as a gift. Ephesians 2:8-9 articulates that grace is a gift from God. For by grace you have been saved through faith, and not by yourselves. It is a gift of God, not of works, lest anyone should boast. This idea that grace is a gift indicates that it is given to us out of love, that is not earned. And so if our grace isn't earned, it's not through any human effort. And so it's important for me in this work that I do, that DEI doesn't become a word that is weaponized and criminalized, because diversity is about all people. Equity sets a pathway for everyone. It's important in this work that I do that the word of wokeness, being awakened to the racial injustice, does not become a criminalized word. It's important in this work that the Imago Dei and all people is not criminalized because they come from a different country or they speak a different language. God's love is demonstrated through Christ. He expresses the depth of his love and is connected to grace. But God demonstrates his love toward us, and while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. Here we see sacrificial act of Jesus and the manifestation of grace rooted in divine love. And I think that is important in this conversation. And I feel that in this race, Representative Vice President Harris has these qualities. And in the Sermon on the Mount, it says, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when others revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven." A credible witness, you see, bears a witness to the lifestyle of that of humility and vulnerability. And that is what we see in "Blessed are the pure in spirit." We should always have an attitude of repentance. And I see that more so in Vice President Harris. We should become listeners and learners when we demonstrate our meekness, because meekness is a picture of power and strength under control. And I see that in Vice President Harris. I think it's important that we remember this and that we make sure that we are voting with mercy and compassion at the forefront. And what we've seen just over the last year, we've seen the rollback of Roe versus Wade. And I am a person who is pro-life. I am a person that believes in life from the cradle to the grave. but I've seen this weaponized. I've seen this criminalized. I've seen women who have died. And because of that, I can no longer be a one-issue voter. I'm voting for the candidate that is leading with grace, that is leading with love, that is leading with compassion for the other. And I hope you will do so too. Thank you.
Now, early in this video, you heard me mention about sambatree.com. It's a place where you can find herbal and natural remedies for you and your family. Did you know that we are right now running an 18% sale? That's right, off of everything in the store. Store-wide, 18%. That even includes the bulk items. And this is a great time as we're, because right now the seasons are starting to change. And so, with that, your body starts changing, colds start coming, the children are going back to school and all that. So environments are changing, just period, both outside in nature and also for us and what we do, kids going back to school, all that kind of stuff. Right. And so it's so important and vital, for you to make sure that you're building up your immune system. And if you go to sambatree.com, you will find a whole lot of things there that will assist in just that. So if you, so we have been around for some time now, and the amount of emails and messages we get back from people saying how they're just, man, it's been such a help and a blessing in their lives. And we also use it as a place where, to educate, as well as we learn new things, we immediately are sharing it with our people. So make sure you check it out on sambatree.com. And when you go there, make sure you go on the email list, because there's a lot of things we do share on the email that we don't share here. So make sure you check it out, sambatree.com. Okay, and like I said, that again was Latasha Morrison. She's an author of 2 books. One is called Be the Bridge, and then she has a new one that's out now. I believe it's called Brown Faces and White Spaces. And and so we'll just go with that. But I found this page here that actually someone who did a book review on the Be the Bridge, very positive one, by the way, on her book, Be the Bridge. And I just want to give you kind of an outline of where she's coming from. I mean, you heard the video, but here, let's start from the top here. It says, here are my top 10 quotes. Again, I didn't write this. This is coming from someone else. Her big thing is racial reconciliation. That's what she believes, that all races need to learn to come together, to love one another, that kind of thing. So this is her plan, according to her book, according to this individual here who actually read it. And this is what she says is the work of racial reconciliation requires a certain posture. If you're white, if you come from the majority culture, you need to bend low in a posture of humility. All right, let me read that again. It says the work of racial reconciliation requires a certain posture. If you're white, if you come from the majority culture, you'll need to bend low in a posture of humility. I'll just read a few more of these. It's a whole page here, but I'll just read a few more. Each ethnicity reflects a unique aspect of God's image. No one tribe or group or people can adequately display the fullness of God. The truth is that it takes every tribe, tongue, and nation to reflect the image of God in his fullness, kind of like a Voltron kind of thing. That's what it sounds like to me. Anyway, and then I'll read one more. It says, in the love of the family of God, we must become color brave, color caring, color honoring, and not color blind. We have to recognize the image of God in one another. We have to love despite and even because of our differences. Now, a lot of this, it sounds pretty good, but let's kind of, go through this. We're going to slow walk this a little bit, and then I'm going to get into the actual video itself, because there's some things I wanted to highlight in some of the things that she was saying there. Now, first and foremost, this whole notion, because I don't know about you, I know I've heard it a lot. This whole notion that somehow, in order for us to start a conversation with white people, we have to first, white people have to bow their knee, or they have to bow down. They have to be silent. Right now, with the whole Kamala thing we got going on right now, is I've even seen shirts with this, is when a black woman is speaking, everyone be silent. It's that kind of vibe, it's that kind of energy. It's time for us now to listen to women, that kind of thing. Well, let me kind of help you out for those of you who buy into that. That ideology, it doesn't even work in the black community. Okay, it doesn't. Okay, so in case people want to think that somehow that there's a blueprint of success of taking that tactic, there is none. Okay, and I notice particularly a lot of black women, political black women, have been trotting this out, and I've even heard black men, who are pro Kamala people, have been trotting this out as well. But the fact is that within what we call the black community, there is no successful blueprint of that. Okay. In fact, I'll go even further than this. True leadership, it doesn't demand people to be quiet. Okay. You don't demand people to be quiet if you're a true leader. When you look at our leaders, when I say leaders, I'm talking, what we have called leaders in the past, like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Mayor Evers, Medgar Evers. Just go down the list. Okay. A lot of these individuals, their leadership shone when they were in an environment where there was a lot of contention. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because in conversation and contention, that's where leadership truly shines, because it's leadership isn't determined by the person who can out-talk one another. True leadership it's the person who can balance both. In other words, you can talk, but you can also listen. But you're not just saying anything. You're giving well thought out responses. Do you understand what I'm saying? So this whole wave that I'm seeing where, there's this demand that when a black woman speaks, we got to listen and all this other stuff. There isn't even a blueprint of success for that, even in the black community. OK, and this is why we're seeing a lot of contention going on right now within the black community as it pertains to male-female relationships. It's because of ideologies like this. They don't work. All right. They don't work at all. So I just want to start that off on that. But this is kind of what you're hearing is a little bit more of that. OK, now let's get as far as the Christian angle is concerned. Now, as I was saying earlier in this video, is that if you notice a lot of the hand wringing that was going on here, it was pretty much a word salad. I'm just going to be honest. It was pretty much a word salad. She's pulling from all kinds of scriptures and all of this other stuff and saying that, leading in love and, all of this other stuff. Well, as I get into this, as we're kind of peeling this onion a little bit, I want to point your attention to another video. This video comes to us by way of Phil Scott on his channel. And if you're not subscribed, if you haven't been checking him out, please do. He's one of many great content creators that are out here that are literally are going after this thing and confronting and revealing a lot of the truth, that is being covered up by mainstream media. But he recently did an interview with an individual who actually worked in the truancy department or whatever of the state of California under Kamala Harris. I want to play for you this clip and I want you to take a listen to it. OK, and then after that, we'll be right back.
OK, and so when you place in these schools, what is it you were supposed? They're talking about keep it safe, but what were you doing to keep it safe, according to what Kamala wanted y'all to do?
Well, okay, so here's another thing is that one of the things is if somebody had a fight or something went on, they wanted us to cite the kid in the court. So, when I was coming up, if you had a problem with a kid, if they hit you, you hit them back. OK, well, we'll deal with that. Or the parents had a meeting, but it was about, hey, write these citations into the juvenile traffic court. And what that did was that created a paper trail. So when that child got in trouble later on, they could go back to the juvenile traffic court and say, well, hey, this kid had problems back in elementary or junior high. And so the other thing about that was they had us writing these truancy citations under an ed code, which is 48260, if I can remember it right, 48260, where they had us writing like $500 citations to the parents of a child if they missed a certain amount of school. Now, and you go to school 9 months out of the year. So if you miss 10 days of school, you are a habitual truant. But they changed that to where if you had 3 absences that were not, and your parents forgot to call it in, then they could say that you're a truant. And then they want to send you to a hearing. And that hearing is that's created a lot of damage. The hearing is called the SARB hearing, a SARB A and a SARB B. So here it is. These parents are working hard every day. They sending the kids to school. Maybe the kid ditched class, or maybe I saw where some children had medical issues, and the parents are waiting for the school to create some type of independent study so the child wouldn't get behind. Well, they'll send a letter. They were sending letters to the parents saying your child missed school. We think that they missed too much school, so now you have to go to this hearing. You don't even understand as a parent, what is this about? You go to the hearing, and there's a district attorney, child and family services, a probation officer, and a school principal or a school representative, and sometimes somebody else. And you're coming in a room, and it's like court. There's 5 people sitting at a table looking at you, wanting to know why your child's not in school. And sometimes they'll send a letter to the home, and if the parent doesn't get the letter, they don't know that there's a hearing. So when maybe the parent can't get off work. A lot of these parents they had to work 2 jobs just to make it. And the parent gets off work, sees, oh, I missed a hearing. Well, guess what? You didn't show up. So they send an officer to your house to write you a citation for $500. You got to go. The kid doesn't go to court. The parent's going to court. Mm-hmm. So the parent goes to court. And if you have 3 children, and I saw this a lot. If you had 3 children, and maybe one of them was sick and the other 2 caught it, and you're working and you're trying to take care of the kids and you just didn't have time to call in, that's $500 per child. In one instance, that's child? Per child. If you have 3 kids and all 3 of those kids miss those days, that's $1,500. That's what was going on back then. And from my understanding, it's still going on. But back then, I can tell you honestly, because I was a part of this, not understanding what it was in the beginning. But $500 per child, and if you get cited, let's say 3 times they cite you, you're looking at a county lid, which is 1 year misdemeanor in the county jail.
All right. Then in the meantime, then another thing. These are some other articles I want you to check out as well. There was a story, and we've talked about this on this platform as well, but there's a story going back some years ago, Kamala Harris, when she was the attorney general for the state of California, where she actually fought the state Supreme Court to prolong the sentences of inmates because she felt that was cheap labor for the state. The state was saving a lot of money for cheap labor. So her office actually argued to keep these inmates in longer. And it wasn't until the inmates took the state of California to court and said, listen, there's no reason for you to do this. And then when Kamala Harris at that time, when she was confronted with it, all of a sudden now, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't know. Well, that says a lot about your leadership. It does. And so, so that was one article there that I really encourage you to go back and listen to. I'm gonna tell you right now, it's becoming a lot more difficult finding these articles, because whatever it is that they're doing right now, they're burying this stuff here. And then there's this other article comes to us by way of the San Francisco Gate. If you take a look at this article here, they go through 9 different cases, and it's pretty balanced. 9 different cases that she was part of in the state of California. And there was one in particular that stood out to me. It was a woman who actually was shot. She was a schizophrenic. She was shot by the police because she was going after him with a knife. So they shot her. And so they ended up, her office ended up prosecuting the woman who was having an episode. And so I thought that was interesting. There's another case on here they're talking about where a gentleman was being prosecuted by her office and on some bogus stuff, and ended up he was in court. He turned around and looked and saw that she was laughing at him. Now, this is according to him. He was talking about this in a podcast, but it's again, I would encourage you to go check out these pages here. You have them on the screen and you could take a look at it. Now, on a broader case here, she didn't have any involvement in this, but we do know that she is someone that is very much for the promotion of illegal immigrants coming into this country. And this is one of the things that a lot of Black Americans really have a serious problem with. And the Black Americans that are saying, no, we're not going to vote for you. It's this one case. It goes back some years ago. This was back in 2008, I believe. Jamil Shaw II. I remember this story. And this is a young man who's doing very well in school, young Black American man, happens to be walking in a community in Los Angeles, just happens to be wearing the wrong colors, and was shot and killed by an illegal immigrant. And, that turned into a whole big thing, and they tried to wave it off and try to give him a light sentence and all of this other stuff here. But this is stuff that goes on all the time within this country. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to this preference to defend and to encourage illegal immigrants for coming in, because if this individual wasn't even in this country, as they shouldn't have been in the first place, then Jamil Shaw II would still be with us to this day. But it's funny how people tend to overlook these kind of stories here. There's another story too that's floating around of a young lady who was talking about how a young Black woman who was saying how she worked for years and years and years to work her way up to get a food truck, had to spend a bunch of money of her own money just to get it. And then finally she's at a point, life happens. She now has to sell the food truck, and she has a buyer who happens to be, you guessed it, an illegal immigrant, who basically presented his paperwork to her. And the paperwork basically showed how the United States is giving him the down payment money, giving him all kinds of stuff, where things that she had to work for years to get. Now you got illegals that are coming in that they're getting this stuff handed to them. So anyway, and then we can also talk about, I can mention the whole thing about the, with now getting back to the video, Latasha, she was bringing up, blessed are the peacemakers. Well, again, her administration, under the Biden administration, they have defended Israel in what Israel has been doing over in Gaza, in bombing the innocent people over there, including Christians. So this is something that's been going on for a very long time. And then I'll stop there and ask this question. So, Latasha, you were making a lot of, saying that, leading by love. So the things that I was just going through just now, everything from the Phil Scott clip that I played earlier to, what was going on, how her office prosecuted people who shouldn't have been prosecuted in the first place. Let me ask you something. How does that fit into scripture? How does that fit into the narrative that you're trying to draw here? I'm a little bit confused on that. But I will say this, is that it does fall into the word salad that you were presenting, and how you're trying to, at the end of the day, you want to vote for. Now, again, I don't care who you vote for. You can vote for whomever you wish. But where it provides a great opportunity to demonstrate how Christianity, when it comes to politics, it's all over the place. It's literally all over the place. Well, on this platform too, one of the things we have is we have a research group, and what we do is we actually have looked at the historicity of the Bible, and as we've been kind of going through this little by little, when you go into the history of the Bible, I'm talking about the real history, the people who wrote it and the inspirations of the Bible, you're going to see it's a hodgepodge of all different types of things that contradict one another. So it makes perfect sense to me as to why Christianity is all over the place. And I think politics is a great example, a great platform, if you will, to see Christianity in its full glory, if you want to call it that, because it's literally all over the place. And it really is amazing to sit back and watch people like her take the scriptures and begin to twist them and turn them and do all this to justify, you wanting to go there. But you got to use the Bible to justify it. But the same Christians will use the Bible to justify a bunch of things. And let me ask you something now. The things that I was going through, this list, What scriptures justified Jamil Shaw being killed and promoting laws that would encourage this happening more? What scriptures can you pull out that would justify that? What scriptures justify what the clip that I played from Phil Scott, the woman that was talking about how families were being torn apart and being charged extra fees for this, that, and whatever, even though they couldn't even afford to take their kids to school. But this law that Kamala Harris was promoting was doing just that. What scriptures are okay with that? How does your Jesus promote that? How does that fit into that narrative? Or what scriptures, how is this leading by love when we get to Gaza? You know, when we're talking about the innocent people that are being killed in Gaza. Now, mind you, when it comes to even those things here, I'm not saying that if you go with the Republicans, it's going to be totally different, because I think they're both two wings of the same bird at the end of the day. You know, if you're being honest and based on what you're saying here, you're really not being honest at all. What this sounds like is a lot of, you just want to be with the cool kids, like I was saying earlier. And then you also mentioned the whole thing, it was like you're playing around a lot with the whole abortion thing, the cradle to the grave reference and all of that. And, but at the same time, I'm for, a woman's right to choose and, all of that stuff. Still playing around with that space, but at the same time, wanted to stand on what you say is, I'm pro-life. You can't have it both ways. I'm talking about in a real world, you can't have it both ways. But then to try to use scripture to justify this conflicting, whatever this is that you're trying to put together, it makes it look that much more crazy. At least to me, it does anyway. And then you also mentioned DEI. Now, I've talked about DEI on this platform a whole lot, but I'll just summarize it for you again, just to make it short and to the point. DEI, which means diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, the thing about this policy that you are conveniently leaving out is that diversity, inclusion, both of those things there, they are also including things that are anti-black. That's right. Yeah, and what do I mean by that? So in other words, and I would even argue anti-black woman, like you are. You're a black woman, right? So what this includes by pushing this policy, if you're going to be honest, is includes policies where now you can have people can one day say, hey, listen, I identify as a black woman, or I identify as an African American. I identify as this, that, or whatever. And so now you are creating spaces where now that these individuals can now compete against you simply by claiming that they're you. But see, what I really want to hear from people like yourself is, why do you conveniently leave that out? Because this is exactly what you're doing. This is what you're doing. Diversity, what it also includes, and diversity is a huge word, but it also includes the transvestites who are reading to children in these spaces where in libraries. Your Bible is okay with that? So I ask you, why do you conveniently leave that out? Why do you conveniently leave out the fact that in many cases, these transvestites, if you take a look and you can do searches, you'll find news article after news article after news article where many of them are being accused of doing harmful things to little children. We're not saying that it's exclusively them, but they are certainly, it does align with the lifestyle that they choose. Again, I ask you, what does your Bible have to say about that? So when you want to talk about leading with love and, and compassion and all of that, your compassion is also including all of this. So in short, you're really not being honest. And this is why Christianity continues to be a joke, and it continues to show itself as a joke over and over again with every election cycle when people like yourself bring up these wishy-washy things that's all over the place that can apply to a number of things. But the people that are pushing these agendas don't realize that by pushing these agendas, by default, you're pushing yourself out and making yourself irrelevant over time. So what do you have to say? Those of you who are listening, what do you have to say on this? What's your opinion on this? Would love to hear it. Go ahead and put it down in the comments below. Would love to hear what you got to say on this. And yeah, that's it. I think we're going to see a lot more of this. We're going to see a lot more people coming out trying to justify their decision. And listen, it goes both ways. You got Republicans that have a long history of doing this too. You know, the picture of the conservative preachers laying hands on Trump, just like you had the more liberal black preachers laying hands on Obama and all of that. This is the problem that religion brings to the table. It muddies things up. Religion is a way of finding some extra high ground that someone can stand on to say that I'm speaking from a point of authority, when you're really not. You're actually speaking from a point of confusion at the end of the day. So anyway, your thoughts, like to hear from them. Put them in the comment section. Thank you so much for tuning in. You guys take care, and I'll see you again soon.